O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Stand up for your country. A lot of breaking news today, and it's a big picture situation. The one that's not that important is Senator Mark Kelly. A judge ruled, federal judge, that Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, cannot discipline Kelly for the comments he made about unlawful orders. You remember Kelly and a bunch of others say, you don't have to obey him, which was certainly subject to sanction. But we live in a country where there are plenty of judges, and one that made this ruling was an Obama appointee that hate Trump. And anything to do with Trump, they're going to rule against it. I don't know if the government's going to appeal. I wouldn't. Kelly, for most of his life, was a patriot. I've lost respect for him now. He fell into that hate Trump barrel, and that's what's kind of destroyed him in my eyes. Also, the Senate is not going to advance the funding bill for Homeland Security. They needed 60 votes. That's the filibuster, and that went down. Okay, so I think they got 52, and this is by design. So we'll tell you about what's going on in Minnesota in a moment, but what the Democratic Party's strategy is now is to create as much chaos in the government as possible going into the midterms. So it doesn't matter if it's good or bad for me and you. Nothing matters other than just blow it up, blow it up, blow it up, make Trump look like he is incompetent and the government's out of control. That is what is happening. There's no reason to deny Homeland Security funding. It's dangerous. What are the Democrats? Only one Democrat said no to that, John Fetterman in Pennsylvania, the senator. And I respect Fetterman now. I kind of, in the beginning, thought he was a little weird, but now I got to know him a little bit. He's a man of principle. But one Democrat? Come on, this is ridiculous. All right, if you want to beat the Republicans in November, Democratic Party, do it on the issues. Don't do it backdoor, creating all kinds of chaos is bad for the American public, but that's what you're doing. Now let's take the SAVE Act, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. All right, so this is an act that says you have to be an American citizen to vote, which is already on the books. If you vote in our election, you're not a citizen, that's a crime. Okay? And in order to prove that you're an American citizen, you got to show an ID. When you register to vote, when you go to the polling place, when you mail in your ballot, whatever it may be. And it's called the SAVE Act. Safeguard American Voter Eligibility. It passed yesterday in the House, 218 to 213. Only one Democrat voted for it, Henry Cuellar of Texas. Only one. So you're going, wait, everybody knows that an ID in a situation where there are limits, okay, there are limits, and the limit here is if you're not an American citizen, you can't vote. The situation buying tobacco and alcohol has got to be 21. It's on and on and on. When there are limits, you have to prove who you are. No, Democrats don't want that. Roll the tape.
The Save America Act is not an isolated piece of policy. It is part of a concerted effort by the Republican Party's leadership and this administration, this president, to centralize partisan power over American elections, to diminish the authority of American states, to once again stoke fear and mistrust of immigrants and in our electoral system, all for the partisan gain of Speaker Johnson and the White House this November.
Oh, bull. That's so much garbage. I can't even, it's about, the guy hates Trump and the Republican Party. Okay, we got it. Diminish the power of the states. Only 11 states have mandatory voter ID laws. Only 11. And 14 states have nothing. You can walk in and vote. You don't have to show anything. These are the ones that are most permissive. California, of course, Oregon, Nevada, New Mexico, Minnesota, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, Hawaii. Almost all Democratic states there. A couple of, in the middle, but I mean, that's just crazy. You can just walk in the street, walk into the polling place, vote, and nobody's going to know. Come on. Anarchy. Okay, so a Pew survey last August 25 said that 83% of Americans support voter ID. And a lot of Democrats in that 83. And then another one in October, Center Square Voters Voice Poll, I don't know what that is, says 71%. All right, so it's overwhelming that Americans, common sense, you got to show an ID to vote. But no, Democratic Party, no. We're not going to have it. Chaos. Okay? So what happens now after the Department of Homeland Security doesn't get any money? Well, it shuts down on Friday midnight. Not ICE. ICE is funded, okay? But the Department of Homeland Security shuts down. So if there are bad guys lurking, that gives the bad guys an advantage. And they'll work something out. This is all about the Democrats grandstanding. Oh, we're for the migrants, and we don't want. But you have to understand something. And I've been doing this analysis now for the last week. There are about a third of American voters that don't want any immigration enforcement at all. That's way up. Now, they bought into the propaganda that friends and neighbors and the poor people and little children, they bought into all that. But about 30%, that's a lot of people. Yeah, come on in. Come on in. Everybody in the world. Everybody. And we went over this yesterday. And if you aren't a premium or concierge member of BillO'Reilly.com, we can't give you transcripts, but we do have the shows you can watch. We went over how many nonviolent offenses there are, because the propaganda is only 14% of foreign nationals that ICE has rounded up are violent criminals. Drug dealers who sell fentanyl, not violent. Child pornographers, not violent. On and on and on. You can steal as much as you want, no violence. You can run somebody over with your car. Run somebody over with your car, not violent. And they know that. The Democratic Party knows that it's a very narrow sliver, okay, of violent crime that they're talking about, 14%. Murderers, rapists, very serious assaults, that kind of thing. And I'm sitting there going, this is the biggest lie. I wrote a message of the day on BillO'Reilly.com. This is the biggest lie in the world. And they know it, but they justify it as we hate Trump, so we're going to say anything. And no matter what we say is okay because we hate Trump. The final thing, if you are interested in accuracy and having facts at your disposal, please become a concierge member of BillO'Reilly.com, because everything I say right now is transcribed and you get it free. So you can build like an archive, and then if you are involved with any kind of political debate, or you want to convince somebody, or your kids are nuts, or whatever it may be, you've got it there. And we back up everything we say. So you might consider that. So as of now, Department of Homeland Security is not going to be funded after tomorrow midnight. In Minnesota, the border czar, Tom Homan, says their work is done, okay? So they're pulling out most of the ICE agents. And they have arrested 4,000 people in Minneapolis, St. Paul metro area. 4,000. Not all of them are violent or fall under that category, but that is a lot of people. All right, so here's what Homan said today. Go.
We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country, and to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security and mass deportation. Law enforcement officers drawing down from this surge operation will either return to the duty stations or be signed elsewhere.
It's a smart move by the Trump administration, trying to bring down tensions. Of course, Walz, the governor of Minnesota, comes right out. I want everybody out of here. You know, if it were me and I'm president, I'd go after Walz and Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis. You can't do it now. You got to wait till the tensions come down. But I go after them for insurrection. I might not win that. If I'm the president, the Justice Department might not win it. But it's worth the bet. It is worth it. Because these guys, Walz, oh my, he's almost vice president. This guy. And I knew they were going to do this as soon as the Trump administration, you know, and they didn't surrender so much. They just said, not worth it. And I called for very early on a much lighter touch from ICE. Those two people who were killed, that was the fault of Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, who, as he had provided a cordon of security around the ICE agents with local police, which he should have. That was his sworn duty to do, to protect public safety. Okay, those two people would be alive today because the cops would have kept the protesters away, physically away from the ICE agents. So Fry did it. It's on him. Let's face it, the U.S. economy is under stress. National debt rising, trade war shaking the markets. And meanwhile, China is dumping the dollar and stockpiling gold. That's why I protected my savings with physical gold and silver through the only dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. And you can do this. Get precious metals delivered to your door or place in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. They'll even help you roll over your existing IRA or 401k, tax and penalty free. With billions in precious metals delivered, thousands of five-star reviews, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, you can trust American Hartford Gold as I do. Please call 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Okay. New poll, NBC News, about changes to ICE. Here we go. 22,000 people. Wow. Big poll. 22,000. First question, in your opinion. Should the U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency be allowed to continue operating in its current form or be reformed or abolished? All adults. These are not registered voters. These are adults. Okay? Continue in its current form, 29. Reformed, 42. Abolished, 29. That was my 30% figure that I gave you earlier in the program. 30% of Americans just don't want anything. Go ahead. I can't even wrap my mind around that. Democrats continue in the current form, 2. Reform, 50. Abolish, 48. Independents continue, 14. Reform, 55. Abolish, 31. Republicans continue in its current form, 71. Reform, 24. Abolish, 5. Okay. So there you go. Big split. Everybody knows that. In America, the two political parties couldn't be further apart. There's very little détente on anything. And there's a lot of hatred. Now, I'm not in that crew. Okay, I don't hate Democrats. The radical left, I don't hate them, but I want to see them contained. And that means using the law to do it. Okay? So if I have some pretty far out there left-wing friends. I avoid a lot of the political talk with them, although I will mock them if they say something ridiculous. And how I mock them is just putting the fact out. All right, that kind of thing. But I'm not a hater, but I do recognize a dramatic change in this country where it used to be Democratic Party were run by, Tip O'Neill and people like that, JFK, the Kennedys. They were reasonable. Not anymore, because their vision of America is so far from my vision. I believe that traditional America led us to become the strongest, most prosperous nation in the world. They want a totally different, they don't want any tradition. They want to just do it over. That's the rub. Now I'm going to give you an example of how crazy this is becoming. So Louisiana is a red state, conservative state. But the U.S. District Court down there has all kinds of judges, and one of them, appointed by Barack Obama, is named John de Gravelet. John de Gravelet. There's John. John lets out 4 violent foreign nationals from confinement. They're horrible people. And he lets them out because, there they are, 2 men have murder convictions. I mean, they're all really dangerous guys. So here's why he let them out. They were unlawfully detained, says the judge, without any plan for deportations or in the reasonable future. Okay. They're dangerous people. They're in the country illegally. They have committed heinous crimes. I'll give you one. Luis Gaston Sanchez. Okay, and this guy is now on the street. Cuban, convictions for homicide, assault, 2 counts of robbery. Okay? But he's still here because Cuba won't take him. So how do you put him back there? And the judge let him out. Oof. All right. That's what traditional Americans are up against, these judges. Most people do not want a lecture when they are ill. They want medication fast. But too often, the system makes it harder than it should be. Appointments take weeks. Prescriptions get denied. Your insurance gets in the way. That's why more Americans are switching to all family pharmacy. If you already know what medication works for you, all family pharmacy makes it easy to get it. You order online. Licensed doctor reviews a request, and your medication is delivered directly to your own door. They carry everyday prescription medications, antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, others you will not always find at big chain pharmacies. So choose freedom. Choose the right pharmacy. Choose All Family Pharmacy. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use my code BILL10. Save 10% on your next order. American homeowners, the FBI has been warning all of us about a type of real estate fraud called title theft. The target, your equity. With just a forged signature, ownership can be transferred out of your name, and without protection in place, you are facing an emotional and financial nightmare. That's why I partner up with Home Title Lock. You can find out today if you are already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you are a victim of fraud, they will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL, or use the link below. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL. Okay, so I was on News Nation last night on Cuomo, but Cuomo wasn't there. So there was a substitute guy, Jesse, and he's good. But I was way back in the show, which usually I'm not. And I don't care one way or the other. I'm a mercenary at News Nation. I mean, they hire me and I do the best I can for them. So I watched News Nation leading up to my appearance. 7 o'clock, Guthrie, about a half hour. 8 o'clock, Guthrie, 35 minutes. 9 o'clock, Guthrie. Every cable station. Guthrie, 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 Guthrie. Because people are interested in it. As we said yesterday, mystery. Savannah Guthrie is famous. Mom. All right. I feel so sorry for the correspondents out there. Because they got to fill all of this airtime and they don't know anything. All right, so they're standing in front of the house and the anchor's going, well, what do you make of this? And whenever you hear an anchor person say, what do you make of it? Whenever you hear that, you know the person is too lazy to formulate a question. Okay, never hear me say that. I got questions. What do you make of that? Come on. An 8-year-old could do that. Anyway, you get the correspondents out there, and what about we found a glove, and then how does the correspondent doesn't know? Well, maybe it was somebody from Mexico, like maybe it was Godzilla. You know, it's like crazy. And the correspondents have got to vamp. This is their job. They got to fill the time. And I'm sitting there going, ooh, because I know this. This is my world for decades. Live shots, explaining. But when I did it, I had facts. I could tell you about the story. There's no facts. Okay, well, there's a videotape. How many times have you seen that videotape? 35,000 times? And they loop it. We didn't get it the first 34,000 times. Loop and loop and loop. So I feel their pain. I was there. I never did that, though. I never did that. The closest it came was, and I told you this yesterday, was when JFK Jr.'s plane went down in the Long Island Sound. And it was like, what do we say now? Is there a sea monster? It was like, what do we do? And nobody knew. Well, it could have been maybe a submarine. And it's the same thing out in Arizona. I expect this thing to wrap up, you know, but boy, that's a hard job. So be sympathetic to the correspondents, but the anchors realize that they don't know anything. They can't even get a question out. All right. Thank you very much for watching and listening to the No Spin News. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We hope you have a very good President's Day weekend. I'm going to take a lot of naps, and I will see you again on Monday. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.